You didn't search for this video. Something brought you here. And if you're honest, you already know why. A 2023 JAMA psychiatry study found that nearly 50% of people with clinical depression never recognize it in themselves. Not because they're not paying attention, because it doesn't look the way they expect. No breakdown, no crying, just this low-grade feeling you've learned to call fine. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what it is. But sign number 4, that's the one nobody ever sees coming. You are not broken. There is a real psychological reason you feel exactly the way you feel, and this video exists to show you what it is. Welcome to Psychology Explained, where we decode the hidden patterns of human behavior so you can finally understand what's actually going on inside your own mind. Sign number 1, you are exhausted but you haven't done anything. Think about yesterday. You rested, you didn't push yourself. Maybe you barely left the house. And somehow right now you are completely drained. Not regular tired. Tired in your bones. Tired that sleep doesn't fix. There's a clinical name for this: psychomotor retardation. It's what happens when the brain is running an invisible emotional processing program in the background, consuming your energy every single hour without you ever seeing it. Dr. Roger Cathall at the University of Minnesota spent years studying how depression changes the brain's metabolic rate, and his findings showed that a depressed brain is working significantly harder than a healthy brain just to maintain basic daily function. You are not lazy. You are not weak. Your brain is quietly burning fuel around the clock on something you can't even see. Think of it exactly like a phone with an app running in the background. Screen is off. You didn't open anything, but the battery is draining fast and you don't know why. Silent depression is that app, and this exhaustion makes the next sign almost inevitable. Sign number 2, you've stopped wanting things. There was a time when you had preferences. You wanted to see that film. You had a favorite meal. You looked forward to things. Now someone asks what you want for dinner and you feel genuinely nothing. You don't care. You scroll through options and nothing lands. It's not indecisiveness. The brain has gone quiet in a very specific way. Psychologists call this anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure from things that used to bring it. And here is what makes it so dangerous in silent depression. Specifically, you can still function. You can still laugh. You can still pick something off the menu. But there's no real enjoyment underneath any of it. A landmark Oxford University study found that anhedonia is actually a stronger predictor of long-term depression than sadness itself. People who lose desire without losing their smile are often in the deepest states of emotional suppression. And here's the thing nobody warns you about. When you stop wanting things long enough, you stop noticing that you've stopped. The absence becomes your normal, which leads directly into the next sign. Sign number 3. You perform happiness better than you actually feel it. You know exactly when to laugh. You know how to make the people around you comfortable. You're good at reading a room and giving people what they need from you. And nobody suspects a thing. Psychologists call this smiling depression. A pattern where someone presents as cheerful, social, and high-functioning, while privately struggling to keep the floor underneath their feet. The cruelest part is that the better you are at performing happiness, the less likely anyone is to check on you. Think about wolves. When a wolf in a pack is severely injured, it doesn't show weakness. It performs normalcy right up until the moment it can't anymore. Researchers observing wolf behavior document this consistently. The performance of health is a survival mechanism. Humans with silent depression operate on the exact same instinct. You perform because somewhere deep down showing the real thing feels dangerous. And carrying that performance every single day is exhausting in a way that piles directly onto sign number 1. But here is where it gets more complicated. Because the effort of performing happiness starts to produce its own symptoms. And that brings us to sign number 4. Sign number 4. You're irritable about things that never used to bother you. The slow driver. The colleague who chews loudly. The text that got left on read. Things that you used to let slide now feel like sandpaper directly on your skin. You snap. You feel a flash of anger that seems completely disproportionate, and then you feel guilty about it afterward. This is not a personality flaw. This is your nervous system in a state called chronic hyperarousal, and it is one of the most overlooked symptoms of silent depression in clinical psychology. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, in his groundbreaking research documented in The Body Keeps the Score, explains that when emotional pain has nowhere to go, the nervous system converts it into physical reactivity. Your brain is in a low-grade state of threat. It has been for a while. And when the brain is in threat mode, everything feels like a provocation. Your anger isn't the problem, it's the signal. It's your mind telling you something underneath needs attention that it isn't getting. Sign number 5. You've quietly withdrawn from the life you used to have. You didn't decide to pull back. You just faded. The group chat you stopped answering. The friend you keep meaning to call. The hobby collecting dust in the corner. You started disappearing before anyone even noticed, including yourself. And the worst part? The longer you stay withdrawn, the more it starts to feel like your personality. Like you were always this way. That feeling is not who you are. It's a symptom wearing your face. John Cacioppo's research at the University of Chicago proved it clearly. Withdrawal doesn't just follow depression, it feeds it. Every connection you avoid makes the next one feel impossible. The distance becomes the evidence, and the evidence becomes the story you tell yourself. Sign number 6, your body is saying things your mind won't admit. Headaches with no medical explanation. A jaw that's permanently tight. A stomach that never fully relaxes. Back pain that comes and goes with no clear cause. You've probably had tests done. Everything comes back normal. Dr. van der Kolk's 30 years of research on trauma and emotional suppression document this extensively. Unprocessed emotional pain does not disappear. It moves into the body and speaks through physical symptoms that traditional medicine struggles to trace. Your body is trying to tell you something your mind has learned to push down. The two are not separate systems. They are in constant conversation. And sign 7 is what happens when both the mind and the body reach their limit. Sign number 7, you fantasize about disappearing, not dying, just stopping, logging off from your own life for a while, waking up somewhere quiet where nobody needs you, nobody expects anything, and you don't have to perform or produce or hold yourself together. If you felt this, you probably haven't told anyone because it doesn't sound as enough to mention. But the American Psychological Association identifies passive escapism, this specific fantasy of disappearing from your own life, as one of the most significant overlooked warning signs of silent depression. Because it means the mind has quietly concluded that continuing as things are feels unsustainable. That thought is a symptom, not a fact. That conclusion deserves attention, not shame. Which of those 7 signs felt the most uncomfortably familiar? Just drop the number in the comments. One number, that's all. Because if this video described you better than your closest friends can, you're exactly where you need to be. Subscribe. This channel exists for people who are finally ready to stop performing okay and start actually understanding themselves. Next week, we go deeper into something most therapists won't say out loud until session 5 or 6. It has a specific name. It explains everything underneath what you just heard. And here's what I'll leave you with. The 7 signs you just learned are only what's visible on the surface. Underneath silent depression, there is a second layer. A hidden psychological pattern that drives every single sign you just recognized in yourself. Most people live their entire lives without anyone naming it for them. We're naming it next week. You do not want to miss it.